I believe the bottom of Kuf Lamed Ches, Davar Zeh, this thing, meaning this thing. Remember again, we're speaking about over here the idea that sometimes when a person is in a position of authority, they become a lightning rod for criticism or a lightning rod for negativity, a lightning rod ultimately again for degradation, humiliation. So the Mechaber says that a person who has emunah understands that this is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. As much as there is someone else who is heaping this scorn upon me, they're just saying the staff of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And this is a message from God that there's something in me that's in a state of disrepair that needs to be fixed, that needs to be addressed, that needs to be looked at. And again, as opposed to directing my anger at the individual who is doing these negative things to me, I choose instead to understand ultimately again that this is from the Ribono Shel Olam. I think we might have read this paragraph yesterday, that this is learned out from David HaMelech. So remember again, we went ahead and we learned this when David HaMelech ran away from Avshalom. So remember again, Avshalom rebels against David. That is one of the punishments that David HaMelech received for the episode with Bathsheba. David decides to flee instead of to fight his own son. So what happens? As he's on his way out of Yerushalayim, Bikvos Hamrida Shal Shalom Beno, Amad Shimi Ben Gira Vechiref V'Gidiv Oso B'Klalos Nimratzos, Ubiza Oso B'Fnei Kalaam Kimosha Kasav, V'Hine Mishan Ish Yotzi Min Mishpachas B'Shalu Shmo Shimi Ben Gira, Yotze Yotzo U'Mekalo, V'Yisakel V'Avonim Es David V'Eskol Avdi HaMelech David, V'Chala Amo Chala Giborim Mimino Mismolo, page Kuf Lametes. So as David HaMelech is running from Yerushalayim, this guy, Shimi Ben Gira, comes out and he starts cursing at David HaMelech, essentially saying, you deserve this. Everything you did to Shaul is now coming back to you. You're a disgraceful man. And again, he's cursing him. He says he's throwing clods of earth at him. Now, by the way, Shimi Ben Gira happens to be a cousin of Shaul HaMelech. So again, the family harbors incredible resentment towards David. So what happens? Page Kuf Lametes. The Kasher Rotza Sar Tziva'u Shel David HaMelech Liparah Mishimi Achatzov V'la Rogoser Kimo Shekasov Vayomer Avishai Ben Tzruya El HaMelech Lama Yikalal HaKelev HaMeis Hazeh Adoni HaMelech Ebrona V'Asira Es Rosho. So one of David's generals, a man by the name of Avishai, sees what's going on. So let me kill him. We'll say, so first you understand that such an act like this of disparaging or humiliating the king is called Morid B'Melchus. It's a rebellion against the crown. And in a Jewish monarchy, any rebellion against the crown has a swift and immediate death penalty. So Avishai comes along and says, this is ridiculous. Let me kill him. I mean, this guy is obviously he's inappropriate. He's wrong. Let me kill him. Lo hiskim David lekach. But David would not agree to this. Even though David HaMelech had the ability and the legal right to exact punishment from Shimi Ben Gira, he doesn't. Shahari called Gibar, remember again, Shimi Ben Gira is crazy. He must have had a death wish because David HaMelech is running away with some of his most elite soldiers and generals. And Shimi Ben Gira literally just runs out into the middle of the street and just takes a bite out of David HaMelech. So even though David HaMelech had the wherewithal and was absolutely within his right to go ahead and exact vengeance and punishment from Shimi Ben Gira, what happens? He says, and who would have faulted David HaMelech had he executed someone who humiliated and embarrassed him? But what does David do? And this is amazing. Aval David HaMelech lo ra'a mulo ben Adam v'lo shama shum Adam metalam also. But rather says the Mechaber, David HaMelech did not see a man who was cursing him, a man who was humiliating him, who ra'a rak es Hashem v'shama rak es Hashem. You see, David HaMelech did not see this as an action or as an event happening from Shimi Ben Gira. He saw this as a message from the Ribono Shel Olam. He saw these words as the words of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore, what does he do? V'lachin amar lahem, vayomer HaMelech, ma li v'lachem b'nei tzeruya. So the king says to Avishai ben Tzeruya, listen, this is not our problem. What should we do, me and you, right, son of Tzeruya? Kol yikalel ki Hashem amar lo kalel as David. Leave Shimi ben Gera alone. You know why? Because God told Shimi to curse me. Umi omar madu asisa kain. Therefore, what right do we have to say to Shimi ben Gera, why did you do this? Hanichu lo v'yikala. Leave him alone and let him curse me. Ki amar lo Hashem. For the Ribon Shalom told him to do this. V'kach ozav David esira hamalucha tachas bizyonos ubecharafos b'li lahagiv b'mila. And David simply continues to flee on his way without saying a word. Kimosh Kasov, Vayelech David v'Anasha b'derech, v'Shimi holich b'tzei lahahar le'umasa aloch v'yikalal, v'Yisaka ba'avana le'umasa v'iper ba'afar. So can you imagine the scene? David continues walking. Shimi ben Gera is chasing after him, running after him, cursing him, throwing stones, throwing clods of earth. Yet David HaMelech does not respond. So we'll say, let's analyze this. So remember what's happening over here. When David HaMelech says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Shimi ben Gera to curse him, did the Ribon Shalom communicate with Shimi ben Gera? Communicate with Shimi ben Gera? Of course not. Right? Shimi ben Gera did something absolutely, unequivocally wrong. Shimi ben Gera ultimately does die. He dies under the reign of Shlomo HaMelech. But at the end of it, what does it mean? David says God told him to do this. Shimi ben Gera was responsible for his mistake, and he was responsible for his behavior. What David understood was the events happening to me. Shimi ben Gera is the vehicle of the Ribono Shel Olam. And again, I can't say enough. That does not mean that Shimi ben Gera is not responsible for his actions. Of course he is. Of course he is. We have free will. We're responsible for what we do, what we don't do. But David understood that Shimi ben Gera was the staff of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, was the makel, that God was delivering a message to David through the circumstances with Shimi ben Gera. And as such, David says, killing Shimi ben Gera ignores the fact that this is a message from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right now, the time is to focus on the message. Don't worry about literally killing the messenger. This was the greatness of the emunah of David. David understood that every single circumstance, and I will say, this, by the way, I want to tell you, I think out of all the things we're going to learn with emunah, this is the hardest. This is the hardest. Because when someone hurts me, or someone insults me, right? First of all, the natural reaction is to react, right? Is to say something, is to do something, is to get back. The ability to hold your tongue and the ability to hold yourself back and restrain yourself and say, you know what? This guy, okay, he's a jerk. And he's going to have din cheshbon for hurting me like this. But at the end of the day, if I just focus on his jerkite, I'm losing out on the opportunity to learn something over here from these circumstances. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is putting me here because God is telling me, listen, Silver, the guy's being a jerk to you because you're being a little bit of a jerk also. Meaning there's something in you that requires some tikkun. There's something in me that requires some type of fixing. Something in me is in a state of disrepair, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving me like this interpersonal tension in order to highlight that to me. The ability to focus on that and not to go ahead and react is the greatest testament to one's emunah. David HaMelech, you see, the difference over here also is, remember, David HaMelech knows, because he was told already by Nasan HaNavi, that there was going to be a rebellion from within his home. Right? So there's going to be a rebellion within his home. One of his children or somebody from the household would rebel. He understands that this is a message from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So he comes everywhere else. Can you imagine this? You see, when you read the story quickly, you think just Shimi ben Gera just cursed him, and Shimi ben Gera is following him. Can you imagine this? You take the high road, you decide not to respond, you decide to walk away. And this nut is literally running after you, cursing you, throwing clods of dirt at you. You're surrounded by all of these soldiers. The guy is morid b'malchus. Yet David HaMelech chooses to say, no. To respond means that I'm going to lose out on the musar from this circumstance. Instead, I choose to hold my tongue. I choose to refrain from responding. And I choose to learn what the message is from Hashem. This is actually beautiful. The Kosovo Medrash, we'll say second to last paragraph, page Kuf Lametes. It says in the Medrash, Sheberega sha'amar David HaMelech milim elu. That when David said these words, of Kol Yikalel ki amar Hashem lo, ki Hashem amar lo kilas David, when David acknowledged that these circumstances were from the Ribono Shel Olam, right? When he said the words ki Hashem amar lo kalel, that God told Shimi ben Gera to curse me, which Shabbos is not to be understood literally. God didn't tell Shimi ben Gera anything, but rather David HaMelech understands that these circumstances are a message from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When David said those words, get ready for this. Miyad Yotza Bas Kol Va'amra, David Melech Yisrael, Mizuman Lihios Regel Revi'i Bemerkava. David, king of Israel, you are now invited to be the fourth leg of the chariot of the Ribono Shel Olam. In other words, is Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and David. And David, where Moshe Rabbeinu also fits in there. But David HaMelech was invited to be the fourth leg, so to speak, the fourth support of the chariot of the Ribono Shel Olam. Why? Because this ability to say, Ki Hashem Amar Lo Kalel, this is from God and you have to grow from these circumstances, was such an incredible, dramatic display of emunah that he is invited to ultimately be part of the very chariot of the Ribono Shel Olam. Therefore, again, says the Mechaber, Adam shebemizkeres tafkido mekabel yisurim. A person who, in the midst of his work, right, in the midst of his work, in the midst of his responsibilities, sometimes gets mistreated. Those like it could happen. See, if I'm in a position of authority, and by the way, this is not just a din in position of authority, it's a din in life. If I find myself in a situation where someone else embarrasses me, someone else mistreats me, someone else humiliates me, I have to understand that that is a message from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Ribono Shel Olam is trying to tell me something in me needs to be fixed. The ability to take that message and not use my emotional energy to be angry at the other person or to take revenge on the other person. So not to take revenge against the person who's hurting me. I have to overcome my anger. I have to overcome my desire for revenge. And says, not this was like it just gets harder. The Mechaber says not only that, I have to treat this person with compassion. Right? I'll say in general, by the way, when people act out and people act in a negative fashion towards you, the truth is the more proper response is always rachmanus and not anger. Because normal, happy people do not lash out or mistreat other people. It's only terribly unhappy people or broken people who feel the need to deconstruct others. Because also the fact that someone else hurt me does not give me the license to hurt them back. Rather, just the opposite. If I get hurt by someone and my response is I strike back at them, then not only have I committed an interpersonal misdeed and transgression, but I've failed to actually take the musar from this circumstance, which is this person is simply the staff of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, delivering me a message from Hashem that something in me is in a state of disrepair, something in me requires tikkun, something in me ultimately needs to be addressed. That, says the Mechaber, is our job. When dealing with interpersonal strife, the Baal Emunah understands that I do not direct my animosity or energies towards the offender. That person is the makil of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rather, I try to figure out what message is HaKadosh Baruch Hu giving to me, how do I grow, what's in a state of disrepair, and ultimately, how do I fix it? All right, so we'll stop over here. We'll pick up a couple of men and Mirat Hashem tomorrow. Remember, learning this Sefer at 5:45 in the morning is the easy part. This is the easy part. 100%.
Yeah, this is missing a lot. This is missing a lot.
The English?
Yeah. None of this is in it.
I thought you were saying Schoenfeld was missing a lot. I was so happy. Give him also. Give it to him.
There's the lesson. He needs to detect the message. Get the message that God is delivering through me to you. It's a lot easier to
All right. All right, we'll say good morning. We actually have beautiful, it's always beautiful Gemara, but we're going to start out with actually some very dramatic Gemara. So remember, again, we're picking up, today's daf is Samech 60. We are picking up in the Testament is 59b. We're picking up 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 lines up from the bottom of 59b. So also remember, again, this year, this morning, Daf Yomi this month is sponsored by Sayyid and Simon in honor of the month of Elul, Yom Noram, and an Aliyah for the Neshama of Sayyid's father. The shir is also dedicated this morning by Ari, Melissa, and Scott Gordon. And this chussav for Dr. Yaakov Marsh, Yaakov Ben Yeta. We hope that in the merit of our Talmud Torah, he together with Kol Cholei Yisrael will have an enduring refuah. So let's remember again, we saw yesterday, the Gemara said that Adam Arishon in Gan Eden did not eat meat. He didn't eat meat. That meat was only permitted ultimately to Noach after the Mabul. So the Gemara may say, is that true? Hayir Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema Omer. Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema used to say, right? Not like the Mishnah Perek Yavas, right? Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema used to say, Omer Adam Harishon Nesav the Gan Eden. Listen to this, by the way. You want Adam Harishon was living in Gan Eden. He was sitting in Gan Eden. V'hayu malachi hasharis solin lo basar u'misanin lo yayin. Adam Harishon was sitting in Gan Eden, and what happened? He's sitting there. The malachim are roasting his meat. Misanin and lo yayin literally means like sifting his wine. In other words, they were straining his wine. So Adam Harishon was sitting there in Gan Eden. The malachim are mamish tending him, roasting his meat, going ahead and straining his wine. What? That's Gan Eden, right? So the Gemara says, "Hitzitz bo nachash v'rabich v'odav v'niskalebo." The nachash saw all of the honor that was given to Adam Harishon and became jealous of him. So we'll say, what do you see from here? You see from here that Adam Harishon is eating meat. So how can you see before that he wasn't eating meat? This is amazing. Hassan lebas hayorim min hashamayim. So the Gemara says that was the case. Where did the meat come from? The meat came down from Shamayim. In other words, Adam Harishon never slaughtered an animal. So the meat that he ate was meat that came down from Shamayim. So the Gemara says, "Mi'ika basa yamin hashamayim." So, is there such a thing as meat that comes down from the heaven? What does that mean? Meaning, why don't you go ahead and say that he slaughtered an animal? What do you mean meat comes down from the heavens? So, we'll say, listen to this. In Kiyad Reb Shimon Chalafta, Havaka Azal Ba'archa. Reb Shimon Chalafta was one time traveling on the road. Pagu Bohanach Aryusa. He ran into a couple of lions. The Havukanami La'ate, who were roaring in his face. Amar Hakfirim Shagim Latarad. He said the pasuk, the lion cubs literally are crying out for prey. Nachisule Tarti Atmasa. They both say 2 pieces of meat fell from the heavens. Chada Achluha, one was consumed by the lions. V'chada Shavkuha, and one they left behind. They left behind. I say va'asla be midrasha. So Rabbi Shimon Chalafta brought the piece of meat ultimately again to the Beis Medrash. So also, just by the way, there's a lot to say on these Gemaras because these stories obviously have a lot more than meets the eye. But I will say just sometimes the greatest musra in these stories is the power of pure emunah. Right? That ultimately Shimon Chalafta realizes that he's in a situation where there are lions roaring in his face. There is no way to address this situation without the Ribono Shel Olam's intervention. Sometimes when a person reaches the level of Ein Alanu L'Hishayin Ela Al Avinu Shabashamayim, where a person realizes, I have no one else to rely on but HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So we'll say that opens the door for all kinds of types of salvation. So he brings the extra piece of meat to the Beis Medrash. Boyala, so we'll say they asked, Davar Tameh Huzeh O Davar Tar. So they asked, what's the, I say, only Jews would ask this question, like, what's the kashrus? Like, what's the kashrus over here? What's the status? What's the status of this meat? Now I will say, understand, I don't think Baruch Hashem Adam Harishon asked that question. The reason Shimon Chalafta is asking that question is because remember, this meat came down not for human consumption. This meat came down for animals. So they were asking now, the shayla is, this meat came down from the heavens. Can we eat the meat? Not eat the meat? What's the status of the kashrus of the meat? So Amalei. So he said to him, so the Gemara says, Ein davar tam yorim min hashamayim. So Rav Shimon Chalafta says a davar tami does not come down from Shamayim. Whatever comes down from Shamayim, by definition, is tahor. Therefore, again, this meat is absolutely okay. So Rabbi Zera asked the Shad from Rabbi. Now that we're talking about meat coming down from Shamayim, what happens if let's say meat in the form of a donkey comes down from the heavens? So we'll say, so the idea over here is a donkey obviously is a behemoth tmeya. So in other words, you just said that a davar tami doesn't come down, but let's say again, it looks like a donkey. So what's the status of that meat? Amrulay. So also listen to this. It's actually interesting. So remember, this Rabbi Zera Rabbi Abba responds, Yorod Nala, which literally means you crazy donkey. So Yorod Nala, it was like a little bit like a disparage, like, why are you asking this question? Like, why are you asking about meat that comes down from Shamayim? Yaronala, you crazy donkey. Ha'amrilei, aim davar tami yorim min hashem. You've already established we'll say that what? That impure things do not come down from Shaimer. So we'll say, so it's everything, anything that comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, by definition, is tahor. So on a very practical level, again, it means even the meat that comes down from Shemayim, the hechsher is okay, the kashrus is okay, it's fit for human consumption, it's fit for animal consumption, and weiter. We'll say, but again, the take-home message of these Gemaras ultimately, well, the take-home message of the Gan Eden, I will say, is you understand what Gan Eden is about, is that the Ribono Shel Olam provided for our needs. That once upon a time, man did not have to be mesupak about his parnasa. Man did not have to be doubtful about his income. It was taken care of by the Ribono Shel Olam. That was the Gan Eden. So therefore, if your parnasa is taken care of by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it doesn't mean that you sit back, and have someone pop grapes into your mouth. But what it means is, HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes care of your parnasa, so you're able to focus on other spiritual endeavors in this world without worrying about your income, which we know it would be an incredible bracha from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the second message of the story of Rabbi Chalafta, ultimately, again, the power of Emunah, when a person has true belief that HaKadosh Baruch Hu can do and does anything, it opens the doors for all types of salvation. So Rabbi Shimon says that a Ben Noach is punishable, is executed for actions of kish, of sorcery. My time, Rabbi Shimon, where does Rabbi Shimon get this from? The pasuk says you have to execute a sorceress. In other words, which means Machashefa is someone who engages in sorcery, so you can't allow a sorcerer to live. I will say, now right after that, the pasuk says that anyone who has relations with an animal also is executed. So I will say the juxtaposition of these psukim teaches us whoever is included in the prohibition of bestiality is also included in the prohibition of sorcery. So since Bnei Noach are included in the prohibition of bestiality, therefore again they're also included in the prohibition ultimately of sorcery. Rabbi Elazar says that Rabbi Ben Noach is even punished, can be punished for kilayim, forbidden mixtures. How do we know this? So the pasuk says, "Eschuko saitishmoru." You shall listen to my chukim, my statutes, and then it says, "Behemtecha lo sarbia kilayim, sodcha lo sarbia sizra kilayim, begir kilayim shatnez lo ya'ale alachas." So Torah says, "You shall keep my statutes," and then it says, "No forbidden mixtures of in your field." No forbidden mixtures of your animals, no forbidden mixtures in your clothing. So the Gemara says, what is going to say? Chukim shechakakti lecha kivar. So the pasuk says, God is saying, the chukim that I already gave you, which Rabbi says is a reference to the idea, I already commanded you as Bnei Noach about these forbidden mixtures. Behemtecha lo sabia kilayim, sodcha lo sizra kilayim. So Rabbi says, so the pasuk says, you shall not go ahead and have forbidden mixtures between your animals, nor shall you have forbidden mixtures in your field. Just like again, a Ben Noach is mitzvah that he can't crossbreed his animals. So to again in your field you can't crossbreed plants either. Just like Rabbi said, the issur of kilai behema, of crossbreeding animals, applies in Eretz Yisrael and Chutz La'aretz. So sadcha being ba'aretz being b'chutz la'aretz. So Rabbi say the prohibition on, I guess what I call cross-pollination or cross-breeding between plants applies in Eretz Yisrael and in Chutz La'aretz. Ela me'ata. So we see from here, according to Rabbi Elazar, that a Ben Noach is mitzvah on kilayim. He's commanded regarding forbidden mixtures. Ela me'ata. But if that's the case, I will say all of this, remember, is based on the phrase ushmartem es chukosai. So literally, again, you will keep my statutes. So the Gemara dashes chukosai means chukos shechakakti lecha kivar. The statutes that I already gave you. I mean, I already gave you when you were a Ben Noach. So 1 second. If that's the case, ushmartem es chukosai ve'es mishpatai. So I'll say, if that's the case, when the pasuk says that you shall keep my statutes and my mishpatim, asher ya'aseh osam ha'adam v'chai b'hem. Why don't you say over here, chukim shechakakti lecha kivar? Say that refers to the mitzvah that HaKadosh Baruch Hu already given us previously. And that pasuk is referring to what? Kol Torah kula. So maybe you're saying over here that a Ben Noach is mitzvah in the entire Torah, to which the Gemara says, Hasam ushmartem es chukosai dahashta hachas chukosai tishmeru chukim d'meikara tishmeru. So the Gemara is saying it's two different phraseologies. Ushmartem es chukosai ultimately means the chukim that I'm giving you now. as opposed to as chukosai tishmeru sounds like chukim that I already commanded you before. Okay, I'm going to be a Shov and Karpa. I'm going to Vachar Yaakov. Eino Chai. So we'll say now we're going back to the Mishnah. So remember again, our Mishnah spoke about the idea or the prohibition, ultimately again of cursing Hakadosh Baruch Hu Chas v'Shalom. So remember again, this was the Mishnah. This was the Mishnah Nun Vav Amud Aleph, or I should say Nun Ham V'Beis to Nun Vav Amud Aleph, and the Mishnah discusses again the process that if someone, again, we're done with Bnei Noach. Oh, we're not done with Bnei Noach, but we're transitioning for a moment. So we'll say so. I owe you a Rambam still about mitzvos Bnei Noach. So okay, if we have time today, we'll do it. If not, Mirat Hashem tomorrow or B'Shabbos. So remember over here, the issue we're discussing over here is if someone goes there and curses HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so the process that has to be put in place in order to convict such an individual of this crime. So the Gemara now says the following: Amar Rav Yaakov, Eino Chayiv ad sheyivarech Shem ben arba osios. So Rav Yaakov says that a person is only responsible for cursing HaKadosh Baruch Hu if they use the 4-letter name of God. Yud, Hey, and then Vav and Hey. Only if you curse that name is a person go. Now, we'll say, obviously, if you curse the 42-letter name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the 72-letter name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of course you're chayiv, but the assumption is most people do not know those names. So we're talking over here, the Gemara says, the 4-letter name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. La fuke ben shtei osios. This teaches me that what? That if I only curse the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu with 2 letters, then I'm not chayiv. So we'll say, what's the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu with 2 letters? Yeah. That's either Yud, Hey, or Vav and Hey. To which the Gemara says, Pshita. That's obvious. The Mishnah says, Yake Yosi, yes Yosi. So we'll say, the way the Mishnah alludes to the fact that somebody curses God is the use lashon of Yosi. Why Yosi? Because Yosi's 4 letters. Yosi's 4 letters. So Yosi is supposed to represent Yud, Hey, and then Vav, Hey. So the Gemara says, okay, that's why the Mishnah Dafka uses Yosi, right, as to show me that I'm only chayiv, person only chayiv if they curse the name of God. That's 4 letters. To which the Gemara says, but what would I have thought? Milsa ba'almahu dinakat. Maybe Yosei was just a generic choice for the Mishnah. The Mishnah doesn't want to say that somebody actually cursed the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So they just choose to insert a different name, which we know refers to the name of God. But I would have thought Yosei is just, generic. But don't, it's not specific, to which the Mishnah says, Kamash will no. Mishnah purposely chose Yosei. Why? Because it's 4 letters. To be marames into the fact that one is only chayiv for cursing the name of God if one curses the 4-letter name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There are those ultimately who explain. Amar Rav Yaakov Shmamina Shem ben arba osios nami Shem. So we'll say, so in a different version of this exchange, Rav Yaakov says, oh, you see over here that what? That the name of God, the 4-letter name of God, Yud Hey and then Vav Hey, is a proper name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. To which the Gemara says, Pshita, that's obvious. Yake Yosi es Yosi Tanan. The Mishnah Dafka uses Yosei, which is 4 letters. Ma'odetema adi ika shem rabba. I might have thought maybe from the Mishnah that you only chayiv for curse the name of God if what? If you use the 42-letter name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Umil saba'amu dinakat. And the Mishnah is not specific in its choice of Yosei. Kamash no. So we'll say, so bottom line, halacha l'maisa, the only time a person is chayiv for cursing HaKadosh Baruch Hu would be is if they curse the 4-letter name of Hashem. So if they curse some type of kinui, which means like one of the other descriptive names of a God, or they curse Hashem. So we'll say, remember again, Hashem. These are not names of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Only if a person chas v'shalom curses Yud Hey and then Vav Hey are they responsible ultimately again for Mevarech Shem Hashem, for ultimately cursing the Ribono Shel Olam. Nigmar Adin. So we'll say, remember again, the Mishnah then said. The Mishnah then said that after they adjudicate the case, if the judges find the individual guilty of going ahead and cursing the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so what do? Omdin al raglehen, the judges stand up on their feet. V'korin, they rip their clothing, they tear their clothing, and they can't mend the tear. So it says the Gemara, Omdin min alan. We'll say this is actually amazing. How do we know that the judges stand up? I don't know. You said the ehud ba'ilav. So we'll say, so the Gemara over here describes an episode in the beginning of Sefer Shoftim. What happens in the beginning of Sefer Shoftim? One of the Shoftim by the name of Ehud comes to Eglon, the king of Moab. Now again, he's actually coming and to assassinate the king. Right? This is the story where Ehud hides the sword. He was left-handed, so he was able to hide a sword. They didn't suspect the sword. He hides a sword with two blades underneath his cloak. He comes ultimately, he kills the king. So what happens? So he comes to the king. He comes to Eglon Melech Moab, and he comes to deliver a message from God. The Ehud Ba'ilav hu Yoshev Aliyas HaMekara Asher Lo Levado. Vayomer Ehud Dvar Elokim Li Eilecha. So Ehud says to Eglon, Eglon, I come bearing the word of God. I have the message from God to deliver to you. Vayokom me'al hakise. Eglon stood up. Eglon stood up. So we'll say, can you imagine this? When the Gentile king and Oved Avodah Zarah heard that Ehud, the Navi Yisrael, was coming with the message from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, out of deference to God, he stands up. Alo dram kavachomer. Uma Eglon melech Moab shu nachri. V'lo yada ela dekinui. So Eglon, the king of Moab, was a Gentile, an idolater, and he didn't even know the real name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He just knew the appellations, right? The nicknames for God. Ahmad stood up out of deference for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yisra v'shem ha'mafurash al achas kama v'kama. When a Jew hears the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in this case Shema Furash, which again I will say for our purposes means Yud Hey and then Vav Hey, of course he has to stand up. So I will say you understand what is happening. The Gemara is learning out the obligation to go ahead and stand up when hearing the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu from the actions of an idolatrous Gentile king. That Eglon, the king of Moab, had enough kavod that when he heard the Shem Hashem, stood up out of kavod. Says the Gemara, Eglon stood up. Then when the Dayanim hear the name of God, and unfortunately in this disparaging fashion, because here the name of God is being cursed, of course, and there's an incredible footnote to this story. So the Gemara says that in the zechus of the fact that Eglon stood up for Shem Hashem, he was privileged to have a very illustrious ancestor, a woman by the name of Rus. So the Gemara attributes the birth of Rus to this one act of Eglon Melech Moab. And I will say, the message gives something exceptionally dramatic. Sometimes even the small things we do have incredible impact, not just now, but in future generations in ways we could never intend, in ways often that we never know. One little act of Kiddush Hashem on behalf of Eglon Melech Moab. Now again, the bad news is Eglon is killed just a few minutes later, right? But I mean, it's good news for us, bad news for him. But the idea being that one act of standing up to the Ribono Shel Olam blessed him with the great schus of having a great. Let's understand this. He's the Alter Zayda of the Messianic line. He's the Alter Zayda of the Melech HaMoshiach. Where do you get a schus like that? And he gets a schus like that ultimately because he stood up when he heard the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I will say sometimes the things that we think are little, the things that we think are insignificant, the small things, we never know the power of even just the smallest spiritual act. Incredible Gemara. Korin Minala. So also remember again, the judges, when they hear the Shem Hashem, when they hear the fact that somebody cursed God, they tear their clothing. So the Gemara says, Minala, where do we know this? From the Chsiv, Vayavo al Yokim ben Chilkio, V'shevna Sofer, V'yoach ben Asaf HaMaskir, al Chizkio Krue Begadim, Vayagidu Loz Divrei Rav Shaka. So we'll say the Gemara over here quotes an episode from Melachim Beis where Chizkiah, the officers of Chizkiah was the Melech Yehuda, come and tell him that Rav Shaka, we'll discuss Rav Shaka in just a moment, cursed God. Rav Shaka is standing outside the walls of Yerushalayim, and literally he's just blaspheming. He's like just blaspheming HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So they tell this to Chizkiah rends his clothing. So you see from here that what? When you hear that someone has cursed the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the response is a tearing of your clothing. So the Gemara goes right to the Gemara says, "V'lo ma'achin." Not only that, but you're not permitted to repair that tear. So where do I know this from? I'm Rabbi Abba Asya Kriya. You learn Exer Shav of Kriya. Ksiv Hacha Krui Begadim. It says over here, ultimately again, that the officers of Chizkiyo came to him with torn clothing. Uksiv Hasam. The Elisha Roev who mitzaik avi rechev Yisrael farashav. So let's remember this is about by the Ma'aseh Merkava. So what happens? Elio doesn't die, right? Elio is taken up to Shemaim in a fiery chariot. Who's with him when this occurs? Who's right by his side in this earth when this occurs? His Talmud Elisha. So Elisha sees his Rebbe whisked away by this fiery chariot, and he says, Elisha cries out, Avi, my father, chariot of Israel, v'lo ra'o od. And Elisha never sees Elio again. He Elisha took his clothing and he tore it into two pieces. To which the Gemara says, why does it have to say, why does the pasuk have to say that Elisha tore his clothing, why does it have to say that he tore his clothing into two tears, into two pieces? Because obviously, if he tore his clothing, it means what? The garment is no longer whole, it's quote unquote two pieces. Why does it have to say two pieces? To which the Gemara says, Rabbi said to teach me that what? That tear remains in a state of being torn forever, i.e., it cannot be repaired. So we'll say what we're doing over here is we make a Gzer Shav of Kriya from the episode of Chizkiyahu, which was an act of tearing ultimately for those who heard the cursing of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to the Kriya by Elisha. Just like when Elisha tore Kriya, it was a tear that could not be mended. So too, when you tear your clothing for the cursing of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it cannot be mended as well. So you know that just in general in Milchos Avelos, there are different types of tears. Some tears, like we learned this in Moed Cotton. For example, when you tear Chas V'Shalom for the loss of a spouse, a loss of a child, a loss of a sibling, where you are permitted after the period of mourning to repair that tear. The loss of a parent, the loss of a Rebbe, or now in this case over here, the cursing of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that cannot be repaired at all, meaning that tear has to remain forever. So the Gemara goes back to both sides. Whether you hear the actual cursing of God or you hear it secondhand. So whether you hear the person curse HaKadosh Baruch Hu or someone tells you that Ploni cursed HaKadosh Baruch Hu, chayiv l'kro, you're chayiv to tear your clothing. Va'edem ein chayav l'kro shekvar karu b'shash shamu. Both now witnesses are not obligated to tear their clothing again when they retell what happened. Why? Because they already tore the first time when they actually heard the person cursing. So you're obligated to essentially tear the first time you hear about this, either when you hear it in person or you hear it told over by someone else. But as you retell it, you're not chayav to tear. I don't understand. Even if they tore when they heard it, when they're retelling it, they should be chayav to tear again because the Maisa, they're hearing it. To which the Gemara says, because what does the pasuk say? When Chizkiyahu heard the words of Rav Shaka, that Rav Shaka blasphemed God, he tore his clothing. What do you see from here? Chizkiyahu HaMelech tore his clothing, but the other officers did not. Why not, Rabosai? They didn't. Why? Because they already tore when they first heard the actual blasphemy of Rav Shaka. It's actually very interesting. If someone hears an Ovid Kochavim curse HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you are not chayiv to go ahead and tear your clothing. Right? The Imtama Rav Shaka. So what about Rav Shaka? Right? Rav Shaka B'Pashtos was a Gentile, and yet again they tore their clothing. Yisrael Mumar Haya. No, Rav Shaka was actually Jewish Nebuch. And again, he was Yisrael Mumar. He was a Jew ultimately who left the fold and joined the Gentile force. And Koran Ela Hashem Miyuchad Bilvad. Ultimately, again, we only do Kriya. Because that's what we learned before. When we hear someone curse the Shem HaMiyuchad, ultimately, again, the unique name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as opposed to a kinui, as opposed to one of the descriptive names of God, we only tear Kriya, ultimately, again, on the unique name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Lafuke kinui. This is to exclude, kinui means like a nickname. We'll say, so names that we have like Hashem or like God, these are not names of God. There's a whole discussion amongst the poskim, a whole discussion about going into the bathroom with money. Right? Because on your dollar bill says, in God we trust. So besides the fact that generally your money is in your pocket, it's in a kli, it's a kli. I will say just in general again that those names, that name God is not a Jewish name. That's a kinui. We'll say, but for example, something you do have to be careful with is you shouldn't say Shalom Aleichem to someone in the bathroom. Right? You shouldn't say Shalom Aleichem or Shabbat Shalom to someone in the bathroom. Right? First of all, you shouldn't talk in the bathroom bichlal. That's a halacha. But again, you don't say Shalom Aleichem to someone. Why? Because Shalom is the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So I'll say, I don't know how we're getting into this now, but okay, in any event, the Gemara says over here, Upligi, whatever. Upligi, this is all Torah. Rabbi Chia, Upligi, Rabbi Chia b'tarvayu. Rabbi Chia argues on both of these points. So we'll say first wide line. Rabbi Chia, Hashemei Askar B'zman Hazeh, Eno Chayiv L'Kro. We'll say Rabbi Chia says, if you hear an askara, if you hear someone go ahead and blaspheme HaKadosh Baruch Hu, someone curse God, you are not chayiv to do kriya today. So the Gemara says, why listen to this? I'll say, Shem ata omer came, because if I had to tear kriya every single time I heard someone curse God, nismale kala beged krud. We'd all be walking around with torn clothing. So we'll say the idea that the Gemara is saying, and this actually is a very sad statement, Rabbi Chia is saying is that the reverence that man has for God in today's day age, and I will say, this is a good 1,000+ years ago, but the reverence that man has for God in today's day and age has suffered such a blow that if I had to tear kriya every single time somebody quote unquote cursed HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we'd be walking around with torn clothing. So the Gemara says, fine. So the Gemara says, Miman. So who are we talking about over here? Meaning, who's cursing God all the time? Who is Rabbi Chia concerned about? Ilema mi Yisrael. If you want to say we're talking about Jews, that Jews are cursing God all the time. So the Gemara says, Mi pikiri kolehai. Both as Jews, we might have our problems. And sometimes we lose our way a little bit. And sometimes we go off the derech a little bit. But a Jew is never going to lose his way in such a way that he's always cursing God. That a Jew is not going to do. Elo pshita, me'ovid kochavim. Rather, Masi Rabbi Chia is talking about the Gentiles. They're cursing God. Vishem hamiyuchad. And if we're talking about again that it's the shem hamiyuchad, that you only chayiv for cursing God if you use the specific name of God, mi gemiri, to Gentiles, no the shem hamiyuchad. Elo lav bikinui. Rather, again, it must be that the Gentiles are cursing God, but they're using a descriptive name of God. Ushmamina bizman hazehu delo hameikara chayiv shmamina. So you see from that according to Rabbi Chia, that it used to be that if you were to hear a Gentile curse God, even if it was just using a kinui, you would tear your clothing. But unfortunately, because today this behavior has become so prevalent, therefore we no longer tear kriya for this. Hashini Omer Anik Afani Kamos. So going back to the Mishnah for just a second. So the witnesses are testifying about a certain individual who cursed HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So what happens now? The first guy gives his testimony. The second witness says, I agree with him. Right? I second everything he said. So the Gemara says, Afani Kamo Kasher B'dinei Mamanas B'dinei Nefashas. So we'll say, what do you see from here? See, under normal circumstances, what we would say, is what happens to happen in Eidos. In Eidos, both witnesses are obligated to give a full account. A full account. Right? So Reish Lakish says, what do you see from here? You see from here that a second witness could say ditto. Right? Second witness could say, right, I agree with everything he said. And we see that apparently this type of Eidos works both by financial testimony and by capital cases. So we'll say, however, again, under normal circumstances, the Rabbanan said, even though Midah Oraisa it works, when a second witness says ditto, when a second witness says, Af Ani, I'm with him, yet under normal circumstances, Chazal came along and said, no, that's not enough. You have to go ahead and what? You have to go ahead and repeat your testimony, Mila b'Mila, word for word. But yet over here, what happens? But I will say over here, at the end of the day, because we don't want the second witness, repeating the whole cursing of HaKadosh Baruch Hu all over again. Therefore, we judge the case in accordance with biblical standards, which allows a second witness to say, Af Ani. This is apostle, because if you want to say that such a testimony is not good, how can we execute a person based on testimony that's not acceptable? So the Gemara says, you see from here that midda oraisa, a second witness is not obligated to recount the entire testimony all over again. Rather, he's just simply able to say, Af Ani, I agree with this. Midrabanan, under normal circumstances, we make him recount the entire testimony because it's one of the ways in which we ensure that he's telling the truth. But apparently, in this case of where someone cursed HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we definitely don't want him to repeat this testimony entirely again. And therefore, after he says Af Ani, we accept his testimony. The Gemara goes weiter. Vashlishi Omer Afani Kamo. So we'll say the Mishnah said, and the third witness could also say Afani Kamo. I agree with the first two. Stomach Rabbi Akiva, the Makish Gimel Shayim. So we'll say the Gemara says over here that our Mishnah reflects the view of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva actually points this out. The Maseches Makos discusses the idea that essentially, again, a testimonial unit is looked at as one entire unit, which means that if you have a group of 3 witnesses who come and one of them is disqualified, then what? Once part of the testimonial unit is batal, the entire testimonial unit is batal, even if you have 2 remaining witnesses. This is the sheet of Rabbi Akiva, that we look at every testimonial unit as a cohesive, complete unit. Once one part is disqualified, the entire part is disqualified. Amud Beis, Rose says the Mishnah. Well, so now we're going to talk about liability for idolatry. A person worships idolatry. We'll say, under what circumstances are you chayiv? Echad oved. So if one worships the idol, now again, that's a generic term which the Gemara is going to discuss. Or you offer up karbanos, or you burn something for the oved kochavim, or you offer up a wine libation, or you bow down to the idol, or you go ahead and you accept, you make a declaration, you accept this idol as you guys. So if you do any of these things, you have officially worshipped idolatry and are chayiv. Va'omer lo kiliato. And similarly again, if somebody says to the idol, "You are my God," so a verbal acceptance of this idol as one's God, as a deity, all of this is idolatry. However, avo hamagafef, if you hug the idol, hamanashek, if you kiss the idol, hamachabe, you give cover to the idol, hamarbis, you sprinkle water in front of the idol, hamerchatz, you wash the idol, sach, you anoint the idol with oil, malbish, you dress the idol. Idol, hamaniyo, you put shoes on the idol. So we're both saying all of these cases over below sase. So we're saying all of these cases you are in violation of a biblical prohibition, but it is not tantamount. Now, what does that mean? You've worshipped idolatry in a biblically prohibited way, but not in a way that would get you the death penalty. Again, we're going to define all of this in tomorrow. Similarly, if one goes ahead and makes a neder in the name of the idolatry, or one swears in the name of the idol, over below sase, one has violated a biblical prohibition. Hapoer atzmo lebal poar. If somebody defecates on Baal Par, poar atzmo literally means you uncover yourself. You defecate on the idol. That's the way you worshipped Baal Par. You defecated on the idol. It sounds like a very. Even about Zara, you're still treating the idol with respect. What's the pshat over here? So I'll just say something interesting. We'll explore this more. I mean, not much more, but so Soloveitchik actually has an interesting insight over here. He explains that if you think about it, so the truth is it's not so far off. Meaning, the way that Avodah Zarah Baal Peor began is people recognizing that there's godliness even in the daily biological functions of the body. Now, both say. We recognize this also. I mean, it sounds crazy to us, but what do? We do Asher Yotza. We make a bracha every single time we go to the bathroom. Make a bracha every single time we go to the bathroom. So it's like, because there's a recognition that when the body works, it's a recognition of the Ribono Shel Olam's involvement in my life. Baal Peor obviously took this to an inappropriate, abominable extreme. But just in general, you always see Avodah Zarah, always, because everything comes from Adam HaRishon. Adam HaRishon was a monotheist. All the offshoots of Adam HaRishon, everything that's in the world of spirituality, somehow has its roots in Avodas Hashem. Just often what ends up happening is it's taken to an illogical extreme, which Shabbos says is an incredible musar in spirituality. When spirituality is not rooted in a Mesoradika framework, it goes in all kinds of inappropriate directions. People could invent and come up with all kinds of craziness, all the Shem Shamayim, all for the sake of heaven, all with the most wonderful and really heartfelt motivations. But if you are not rooted in the strict framework of Mesorah, you end up with Baal Peor. Incredible idea. So the Gemara says, if you defecate on Baal Peor, you're chayiv. Why? Because Zohi Avodasa. Because I will say that at the end of the day, because that's the way you worship the idol. Hazorik Eben Lamarkalis. If you went ahead and you throw a stone at Markalis, you're chayiv because that's the other. So I'll say, what's Markalis? Markalis wasn't Avodah Zarah where you would take 3 stones, 2 and 1. That's the idol. It's actually a very utilitarian Avodah Zarah. It's anywhere, it's everywhere. You could take it with you. So you 2 stones. I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying that it's just interesting how you see that some of these Avodah Zarahs also evolved because of convenience, which is just fascinating. So Markalis is the way you construct the idol is 2 stones on the base, 1 stone on top, and the way you worship it is you throw stones at it. You throw bowling, right? Bowling. Oh, right. So you see, I was thinking more like at the carnival, you throw the stuff and knock it down. In any event, the point is what the Mishnah is pointing out. Will say is the Mishnah is pointing out 3 different things. There are certain types of objective, what we'll call spiritual forms of worship, for which you are chayiv if you do for any avodah zarah. You offer up a korban, you go ahead and you sprinkle wine, you bow down to something. Those are objective displays of worship for which you are chayiv. Then again, there are other types of forms of worship where you will not be chayiv in a capital A, but you will be chayiv midaraisa. And then there's a third category of what we'll call worship-specific practices to a avodah zarah. So, for example, we'll say if you were to defecate on Markalis, right, you would not be chayiv for that. Why? Because that's not the form of, even though defecating on an idol is a form of idolatry, that's only to Baal Pa'or. That's only to Baal Pa'or. So if you were to do that to a different idol, ultimately, again, you would not be chayiv. Okay? Says the Gemara, my echad ha'oved. So we'll say, so what does it mean when Mishnah begins by saying, ha'oved avodas kochavim? Echad ha'oved. If you serve the idol, you're chayiv. What does that mean? So says the Gemara, Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah hachi kamar. This is what it means. Echad ha'oved kidarka. So we'll say, if you worship the idol in the normative fashion, so look at Rashi. Rashi says, "Kol avoda av kifov v'nishok av derech bizayon v'darga chayiv misa k'dichse v'yaf v'yavel k'elakim macherim." So we'll say, anytime you worship an idol in a way that is the normal derech of that idol. So if you were to worship an avodah zarah in the normative way that idol is worshipped, you are chayiv. We'll say the chiddush is what? Even though it might be an objectively disparaging act, if that's the way the idol is worshipped, you are chayiv for that. So the Gemara says, if you worship the idol in the normative way, you're chayiv. So I'll say similarly again, in a generic fashion, if you offer up a carbon to an idol, or if you you burn something on an altar for an idol, or you pour wine before an idol, or you bow down before an idol, even Rabbi say, so let's say, for example, let's say there's avodah zarah A, and avodah zarah A, people don't bow down to it; they just sing to it. But you bow down to that idol, you're chayiv for avodah zarah. Why? Because Rabbi say the act of bowing is in and of itself an objective display of worship. So what the Mishnah is saying is, when it comes to a particular idolatry, you're chayiv for any specific type of worship associated with that idolatry. But then there are certain objective forms of worship for which one will be chayiv for avodah zarah, even if what? The idol is not normally worshipped in that fashion. So why don't you also sprinkling of blood? Sprinkling of blood you should also be chayiv for doing that in front of an idol. In other words, because again, that's an objective form of worship as well. You're right, that's the same thing as menasech. Meaning sprinkling wine doesn't just mean, or pouring wine doesn't just mean pouring, it's pouring liquids, whether it's wine, whether it's blood, whatever it is. So the Gemara says, so from where do we know this? Rashi says over here, it's the fourth wide line. So we'll say, now that we just established is that there's an objective grouping of behaviors, which again, I will say, refers to offering karbanos, sprinkling wine, bowing down, which are objective forms of worship, which if you do it to any form of idolatry, you will be chayiv worshiping idolatry, even if what? The particular idol in question is not worshipped in that fashion. So where do we know that from? The Tanna Rabbanan, because the pasuk says, "Ilu ne'emar zoveach yacharam." If the pasuk would have just said, "Zoveach yacharam," that he who goes ahead and offers or sacrifices, both say yacharam literally means excommunicated, but in this case, over say means punished. I would have thought the pasuk is talking about someone who offers up karbanos outside of the Beis Hamikdash. Talmud lomar le'elokim. Therefore, what does the pasuk say? The pasuk says, "Zovech le'elohim yacharam." Someone who worships to a god will be killed. So the Gemara says, what does this mean? La'avodas kochavim akasav medaber. So we'll say the pasuk is teaching me that if somebody offers up a karban to an idol, he is chayiv misa. Only ela bizovech. It only teaches me if I offer up a karban to idolatry that I'm going to be chayiv. Mikater umenasech minayin. How do I know that if I go ahead and what? I burn something else on an altar, or I do a wine libation to avodah zarah, that I'm going to be chayiv for that. Talmud lomar bilti l'Hashem levado. The pasuk says, "You shall only worship HaKadosh Baruch Hu." Rikein ha'avodos kulon l'shem hamiyuchad. Rabbi said, "It's actually amazing." What do we see from here? We see that Rabbi said when it says bilti l'Hashem levado, what we understand is like this: any avodah that you find done in the Beis Hamikdash can only be done for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If you go ahead and you do any of those avodos that are normally done in the Mikdash to an idol, by definition, that is in violation of idolatry. So we'll say you see something amazing. So therefore, again, Whatever is part of our avodah to HaKadosh Baruch Hu becomes usher to do for avodah zarah. And the novelty is what? Even if what? Even if what? Even if that avodah is not the normal way which you worship idolatry, if it's done for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you can't do it for an idol. Because we'll say ultimately again, the Torah goes ahead and singles out zvicha, zoveach lelokim, is to use Rabbi say as a model. Just like zvicha, offering a carbon is done in the Beis Hamikdash or HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so to any avodah done for God in the Beis Hamikdash, you cannot go ahead and do it for an avodah zarah. How do I know this comes to include prostration, that I can't bow down to an idol? Talmud Lomar, vayelech vayavod Elokim Elohim achirim vayishtachu lahem. So the pasuk says, when speaking about the transgressions of Klal Yisrael, you will go and worship other gods, and you will bow down to them. And what does it say about right after that? For Samachle, votseisa esa ishahu. Pasuk says, you will take the man out and you will execute him. So the Gemara says, the juxtaposition teaches me that what? That someone who bows down to another god besides the Kadosh Baruch Hu is punishable by death. So now I understand there's a punishment. We learned this many times. That in order to punish for a transgression of the Torah, you need two things. You need a source for the prohibition and a source for the punishment. Two distinct sources. So I understand now the punishment. From where do I learn the prohibition? Pasuk says, you shall not bow down to another god. So I might have thought this comes to include also what? That you can't kiss the idol, you can't hug the idol, you can't kiss the idol, or you can't go ahead and put shoes on the idol. Now, obviously, you can't do anything that serves the idol. But I might have thought that these other behaviors should also be punishable by death. Hugging the idol, kissing the idol, putting shoes on the idol. Talmud Lomar, Zoveach. Therefore, the pasuk says, no, Zoveach lelokim yacharam. If you sacrifice to another god, you will be executed. So the Gemara says, Zvicha bichlal haisa. That was like in general, Zvicha was included. When the pasuk says, Vayelech vayavod Elohim achirim, that includes any type of avodah, which would include also the prohibition to offer karbanos to an idol. So it was already included. V'lama yatsa. So why was Zvicha? Why was offering up a carbon singled out? Lahakish eleha. To teach us about Hakish. V'lomer lecha. Ma Zvicha miyuchedesh shi'avodas pnim. Just like Rabbi says, Zvicha, offering up a carbon, is something that is done within the confines of the Beis Hamikdash. And if you do it for avodah zarah, you're going to be chayiv misa. First white line, Av kol she'avodas pnim v'chayavin aleha misa. Ultimately, Rabbi say teaches me that what? Anything that is done inside the Beis Hamikdash in the service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if you do it for avodah zarah, you're chayiv misa. Yotze shtachava lidon ba'atzma. So we'll say that leads to shtachava because the pasuk explicitly says you can't bow down to the idol to be judged on its own. So yatsa zvicha lodon al haklal kula yatsa. So we'll say, so therefore again, the pasuk comes to teach the following. Zvicha teaches me that what? Anything done inside the Beis Hamikdash, we'll say anything done as part of the avodah ultimately will be chayiv for avodah zarah. But the pasuk also explicitly says vayishtachu lehem, they bow down. We'll say hishtachava is not part of the avodah. Right? There's no people would bow down in the Beis Hamikdash when you hear this coming up to Yom Kippur, when they hear the Shema Mafurash, the name of God, so they would bow down. But that bowing down is not part of specific avodah in the Beis Hamikdash. Therefore, again, I will say Zvicha, when it says Zoveach lelokim, that pasuk teaches me that just like sacrificing an animal was part of the service to HaKadosh Baruch Hu inside the Beis Hamikdash, just like that's asar for avodah zarah, so to anything done inside the Beis Hamikdash is asar for avodah zarah. Hishtachava, when it talks about bowing down, so say that comes to add on something additional to teach me that even though bowing down was not part of the avodah inside the Beis Hamikdash, nevertheless it will still be asar for avodah zarah. All right, so we'll stop over here. We'll pick up in the middle of this discussion. We'll pick up with the Emirat Hashem tomorrow morning.